if he finds me.
Who are you spying on?
I'll never tell.
First of all, congrats. It's very rare for me to see something where I haven't seen a film. Like, you made something unique and you told the story in a way that I've never seen. So I just want to say thanks for taking the risk.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun and it was a risk, and it was, it was supposed to be a risk. The idea was to go and see the world, the new normal after COVID in a way. It's not a COVID movie, but it was, it was done shortly after COVID, and to see like, what's the world like? That was kind of the inception of the story. But if you go with a film crew, you disrupt the world. The world ends up looking at you. You don't get to look at the world. And so I had this idea of shooting it with a very small crew and shooting it on an iPhone, and not as a gimmick, not as merely a substitution as a film camera for a film camera, but because it gave us access. It meant that we could walk through a crowded Cairo market and nobody would look at us. There's no boom mics, no lighting, just somebody with a phone shooting their friend, seemingly. That said, tightly scripted. It's an international thriller, so it needs to, all the puzzle pieces need to fit together. But we went around the world. We went from New York to Cairo to Delhi to Seoul and back to New York. And in a way, there's been other movies shot on iPhones before, but this is the first international thriller that goes around the world that's ever been shot on an iPhone, that has this kind of scope. That's a grand international movie. And so I feel very proud of that.
Yeah, listen, some of the places you shot, you're really not allowed to shoot. Like, let me give you an example. The Seoul passport control. That is an area that you should not be. That whole area is like no cameras. So my question is, what would have happened had anyone realized what you were doing? Did you have like that backup, like that plan?
Well, what we did was we did have contingencies for everything in case they went wrong. However, the movie has kind of a stolen aesthetic. Everything is, we shot on airplanes in flight. We shot on in those passport controls. And the way we shot those scenes, like in the passport, were kind of from the hip. And so that then determined like how the rest of the movie was going to be shot. So even if we were in an apartment or a hotel room where we could shoot anywhere we wanted to, we still shot it kind of in that same clandestine, from the hip sort of feel. We had production service people with us. If anything happened, we had fixers and things like that if we needed to. Sure. But we didn't end up having to use them. We quite frankly, we got away with everything. She goes into a store in JFK. We were a very small crew. We took the same trip that she took. So if she was going to the airport to get on a flight, we were going to the airport to get on a flight and to fly to Egypt or whatever. She walked into a fancy accessory store and jewelry store and stole a pair of sunglasses. It was in the script, scripted. Yeah.
I actually want to pause you there, because she does it so expertly, and just talk, what the hell would have happened had it gone wrong? You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, we were ready for that. And she does it expertly because I sort of trained her on like how she wasn't just going to like grab it and run. She was a very deliberate way of doing it, that she just seemed like a customer that didn't draw any attention to her. So there's sort of this methodology that I came up with in my devious mind to do it. So we had scouted it before. We went around the world twice before we shot the movie. We had scouted that store, chosen that one, chosen the exact pair of sunglasses that she was going to steal, and then bought the same pair of sunglasses at the Fifth Avenue store, had it with us, had a receipt, had an excuse, had all sorts of contingencies and explanations for if she got caught. But in fact, she walked away with it, and then we just quietly put it back, and they never knew the difference.
Let's talk about the transatlantic flight and you recording dialogue in business class.
Yeah.
So what was it actually? You're not doing ADR. So how nervous are you when you're filming that you're actually getting the dialogue like on the iPhone and that it's not going to be, lost.
Well, we didn't have boom mics, but they were on wires, and they were
there we go. Okay.
Going to a actually, there's a really interesting sound today. They had their own recorders on them. So they were just recording their sound, and it was good. The sound is good. I mean, it sounds different than you would if it was on a set, because it has all that pressurized hiss and things like that on a real airplane. So I wasn't worried because, again, we had tested it, and we knew exactly that, like, when we got on the flight, we had, 22 minutes before they made us put our seatbelts on and that I would have to sit down. And then seatbelt came off. We knew we had 28 minutes before they started serving the meal service, which was going to get too, busy for us to do it, et cetera. We knew exactly how we were doing it and when we were going to do it. But still, it was, when we first walked on the flight, because we shot everywhere. We walked, the cameraman walked down the jetway with them filming, and, which we knew we were like, maybe we're pushing that a little bit, showing him filming. And the first thing the flight attendant said is, no filming. You can't film. And it was like, and my response was, yes, we can. And we just kept on doing it. I said, sure, we can. And then we kept on doing it, and they got distracted, because the first scene, they're seating other people. That's really happening. And then, then in the second scene, they were like, who is she? She's famous, isn't she? And I was like, she is. And she's going over to your country to film a movie, and we're taking pictures of her. Everything, all true. We never lied about anything, all true. And then they were like, could we get a picture with her afterwards? And it was like, absolutely. And then by the third scene, we were like blocking the aisle and like asking the flight attendant, can you just wait a second? And they were great. We kind of brought them over into our camp. So
it's so funny. How did the film change in the edit in ways you didn't expect? I am curious if the story changed at all based on footage.
The story didn't really change. We tightened it up. There was a lot of, I was in love with sort of the walking around these places, these cities and these, there's such fascinating places, Cairo and Delhi and even Seoul in its own way, and even in New York. And so some of that stuff got truncated because it is a thriller and it needs to move more. And so it I think really just got tighter. There were some things in some sort of start and stop things that happened in India where she arrives and she's sort of checks in and gets dinner. And it was like, no. This is urgent. She needs to go right to the safety deposit box and get it. And so, some of that stuff we changed, but mostly it is as written.
So I'm so curious, how does it work with like the legal releases? For example, let's go back to the plane. You have all these people boarding the plane in business class. You sort of see them. And also like on the streets, like, do you need to get a release from these people? What's the legal stuff on making a film like this?
In business class, you don't see them. And the people that are sitting in business class are our people and, our crew people. We were very careful with it. Occasionally, if there was like a child or something like that sort of got into frame, we would digitally put like a COVID mask on them. Sometimes we put like, big glasses on somebody or something like that. So we sort of digitally would alter their faces if there was an issue, but most often there was not.
When we last spoke, you told me about this movie and how you shot it in secret. So what are you working on now? What's coming up for you?
Another secret. So different, not shooting it on an iPhone, but not kind of a contemporary story, in the news. And so being a little bit cool about that. I also have this other movie about this guy, a real guy named Christopher Havens, who is a math genius who is in prison. He was like a meth addict and a drug dealer and murdered somebody and never went to school past the age of, 14. And when he went to jail, he realized he discovered mathematics, and he didn't just discover mathematics. He's a bona fide math genius who's changed the world of math, which matters because it's a profound story of transformation, and it's a great story. These days, it's hard to make dramas, hard to get dramas made.
Yep.
Nobody wants to fund them. I think people still want to see them, but they're hard to market, and they're hard to, press into the marketplace and press forward. So it's tough going.
I was going to say, it's not just dramas. Getting a movie made now seems like it's tougher than ever in like the history of Hollywood.
Yeah. But I will tell you something funny. I just did a TV show called The Agency, and I do the finale block, which is, with Michael Fassbender and Richard Gere and Jeffrey Wright. And the first one comes out, episode 9 comes out tomorrow. And then episode 10 comes out on the 24th, which is the day my movie comes out. So I have sort of 2 espionage things premiering on the same day.
I have to go. I haven't started The Agency, but I'm actually going to binge the whole thing. Trust me, it's a show I'm watching.
It's good. It's worth seeing.
Oh, with that cast, 100%.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, it's always a pleasure to talk with you.